You think connection is something that must be built brick by brick, that you need to slowly earn it, carefully craft it, and hope it stays strong enough to last. You imagine that true closeness can only come with time, with years of living side by side, or with endless conversations that leave nothing unsaid. But what if connection is not about the hours on the clock, or the amount of words spoken? What if connection, real connection, happens in a single moment? Carl Jung believed that the human psyche carries within it invisible threads, and that when two people meet, those threads can either tangle in confusion or lock together as if they have always known each other. This is why you sometimes feel as if you have met someone before, even if it is the very first time. It is not illusion, it is recognition. The soul sees faster than the eyes. The fastest way to connect with a new partner is not to try harder, but to stop pretending. We spend so much time performing. We show the polished surface, the carefully chosen words, the safe emotions. We think that is what makes us lovable. But Jung understood something deeper. He saw that intimacy does not begin when two people share their strengths. It begins when they dare to show their shadows. Imagine meeting someone new, and instead of rushing to impress, you simply breathe, soften, and let yourself be seen. Not the perfect image you have rehearsed, but the real presence of who you are right now. This is terrifying, because it risks rejection. But paradoxically, it is the very thing that creates the sense of safety that people crave. The fastest way to connect with a new partner is through presence, through authenticity, through the silent language of being. Think about the moments in your life when you felt closest to someone. It was not because they said the right thing or performed the perfect role. It was because you felt their truth. Maybe it was a laugh that slipped out unguarded, or a silence that felt full instead of empty. Maybe it was a moment when they admitted something vulnerable, and you felt your own heart unclench because you were no longer the only one carrying weight. Connection happens not when we hide what is human, but when we reveal it. Jung spoke often of projection, the way we unconsciously place parts of ourselves onto another person. When you meet someone new, you may project your hopes, your fears, your old wounds, even your fantasies. You think you are seeing them clearly, but in truth, you are seeing your own inner world reflected back. This is why new relationships can feel so intoxicating. They are not just about the other person. They are also about you, about the unlived parts of yourself being called to the surface. The danger is that projection can block true intimacy. You fall in love with an image, not with a soul. You chase the shadow of what you long for, instead of facing the reality of who is before you. And yet, projection can also be the doorway. It reveals what you are missing inside yourself. The fastest way to connect with a new partner, then, is not to get lost in your fantasies of who they might be, but to notice what your attraction reveals about you. The unconscious speaks first through projection, and if you can listen, it will show you where connection is real and where it is illusion. This is why presence matters so much. When you are present, you are not lost in your inner movie. You are awake. You see the other person as they are, not as you want them to be. You hear their voice without translating it into your own story. You feel their energy without twisting it into proof of your own worth. This is connection, two beings meeting without the filter of past or future. And because it is rare, it feels unforgettable. Jung believed that intimacy begins with the self. You cannot connect to another soul if you are disconnected from your own. Many people seek new relationships to fill an emptiness they have never faced. They look to their partner to heal their loneliness, to validate their value, to carry the parts of themselves they have abandoned. But this is not connection. It is dependency, and it cannot last. The fastest way to connect with a new partner is paradoxical. It is not about reaching outward with desperation. It is about reaching inward with courage. When you know who you are, when you have faced your shadows and embraced your wholeness, you carry a presence that others can feel instantly. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to chase approval. You simply exist, and in that existence, you create safety. Safety is the foundation of intimacy. Think of how you feel around someone who is calm, centered, and grounded. Your own nervous system relaxes. Your defenses lower. You find yourself sharing more without even realizing it. This is what happens when you connect with someone who has done the work of self-awareness. They carry an invisible signal that says, "Here, you are safe." This is the fastest way to connect with a new partner, not by forcing trust, but by being trustworthy through the quiet power of your presence. There is also something else. The body knows. Before words are spoken, before stories are shared, the body communicates. A glance, a tone of voice, the rhythm of breath. These are signals the unconscious registers in an instant. Science may call it chemistry, but Jung would call it archetypal resonance. It is the recognition of patterns older than your own story, patterns that live in the collective unconscious. This is why some people feel like home right away. They awaken something deep, something that was always waiting. But remember, the fastest way to connect is not always the safest way to build. There is intensity that burns quickly and disappears, and there is intimacy that deepens slowly and endures. The art is to know the difference. Jung taught that the unconscious has its own wisdom. If you listen, it will tell you whether what you feel is projection or truth. If you are honest, you will sense whether the connection is calling you to heal or calling you to lose yourself. So how do you truly connect with a new partner? You do it by being real. You do it by listening more than you speak. You do it by noticing not just their words but the silence between them. You do it by showing curiosity instead of control, and by revealing your humanity instead of hiding it. The fastest way to connect is through the courage of authenticity. Many people fear that if they show their real self too soon, they will be rejected. And yes, rejection is possible. But rejection of a false image is meaningless. Only when your true self is revealed can you know if connection is real. This is the risk. This is also the gift. A partner who connects with a mask will never truly know you, but a partner who connects with your essence will not need the mask at all. Jung often wrote that what we deny within ourselves becomes the barrier to intimacy. The anger, the longing, the grief, the vulnerability, if we bury them, they become walls. When we face them, they become bridges. The fastest way to connect with a new partner is not to avoid your wounds, but to bring awareness to them. To say, yes, I have scars, but they are part of me. And strangely, when you stop hiding them, those scars become the very thing that makes another person feel close, because they too have scars, and now they no longer feel alone. This is what makes connection unforgettable. Not the perfection of your story, but the honesty of your presence. Not the performance of being ideal, but the courage of being real. The fastest way to connect with a new partner is to stop chasing strategies and start living truth. Presence creates trust, vulnerability creates intimacy, and self-awareness creates the kind of energy that draws people in without effort. So when you meet someone new, remember this: connection does not begin in their eyes, it begins in your own soul. And the more deeply you are connected to yourself, the faster another heart will feel at home with you. Before we continue, if you've ever wondered why some connections feel magnetic while others fade, the Jung Method can help. It reveals the hidden patterns of love and attraction. The link is pinned in the first comment. Connection is not just about finding the right person. It is about awakening the right parts of yourself. Jung believed that relationships serve as mirrors. They reflect back to us the fragments of our own psyche, the unhealed wounds, the forgotten strengths, and the hidden desires. When you meet a new partner, it is never just about them. It is about the parts of you that come alive in their presence. This is why the fastest way to connect is not through rehearsed charm, but through honest resonance. A partner does not fall in love with your mask. They fall in love with the way they feel when your presence gives them permission to be real too. Think of how many relationships begin with performance, smiles that hide insecurity, stories that highlight the best angles, promises that cannot be kept. These performances may impress for a moment, but they do not sustain connection, because deep down, the human soul longs for truth, and truth is what makes love last. Carl Jung wrote often about individuation, the process of becoming whole. A relationship that is born out of wholeness feels different. Instead of clinging to another person to complete you, you bring your completeness into the meeting. And this presence is magnetic. A new partner feels drawn to you, not because you are filling their emptiness, but because you are resonating with their own longing for wholeness. This is the seed of deep intimacy. When you are centered in yourself, connection flows without effort. Your eyes meet, and there is no need to prove anything. Your words come naturally without the fear of saying the wrong thing. Your energy speaks louder than your rehearsed lines. This is the fastest way to connect with a new partner. It is not about time. It is about alignment. But there is a shadow here too. Many people confuse intensity with intimacy. They mistake the rush of desire for the roots of connection. They Believe that because the chemistry is strong, the bond must be deep. Yet Jung warned us that the unconscious can lure us into repetition. We may be drawn to what is familiar, even if it is unhealthy. We may confuse the echo of an old wound for the call of destiny. The fastest way to connect, then, is also the most dangerous if you are not awake. A partner who triggers your shadow may feel irresistible. You may feel as if you have known them forever, but sometimes what you have known forever is pain. Sometimes what feels like recognition is the repetition of your own patterns. To connect wisely, you must look within. Ask yourself, what part of me is being awakened here? Is it my wholeness or my wound? Jung believed that the unconscious always seeks healing. That is why we are drawn to people who carry the missing pieces of ourselves. If you have denied your vulnerability, you may fall in love with someone who expresses it openly. If you have denied your strength, you may fall in love with someone powerful. These attractions are not accidents, they are invitations. The fastest way to connect with a new partner is to see them not as a fantasy, but as a teacher. They are showing you the parts of yourself you must reclaim. This changes everything. Instead of asking, how do I make them love me? You begin to ask, what is this connection teaching me? Instead of rushing to secure the relationship, you slow down to receive the lesson. This is how connection becomes a path of transformation, not just a temporary spark. Presence, vulnerability, self-awareness, these are not strategies, they are states of being. And when you embody them, a new partner feels it instantly. It bypasses the mind and goes straight to the nervous system. They feel safe, they feel seen, they feel like they can breathe. That is connection. Notice how rare it is to feel truly seen. In a world of distractions, most people are not listening. They are waiting to respond, waiting to impress, waiting to be chosen. To offer pure presence is to offer a gift. To listen without judgment is to create space, and in that space, another person finds the courage to reveal themselves. This is the fastest way to connect, not through clever words, but through the silence that holds another person's truth. Think of the archetypes Jung described: the lover, the caregiver, the sage, the warrior. These archetypes live within you, and when you meet a new partner, different ones are awakened. Sometimes you meet someone who calls out your lover archetype, and suddenly passion is alive. Sometimes you meet someone who awakens the sage in you, and suddenly wisdom flows. To connect deeply, you must honor which archetypes are active in you and in them. The dance between archetypes is the hidden choreography of intimacy. This is why some connections feel effortless. It is not luck. It is resonance between archetypes, between unconscious energies. When the patterns align, the connection feels fast, almost instantaneous. But to sustain it, you must bring it into awareness. Otherwise, the unconscious will turn the gift into a trap. The fastest way to connect with a new partner is to be awake to your own patterns. Notice what draws you in. Notice what scares you. Notice what feels alive. These signals are not random. They are messages from the unconscious. If you honor them, you create intimacy that grows. If you ignore them, you risk repeating the past. So, what does this look like in practice? It looks like being honest in small ways. It looks like sharing not only what makes you attractive, but also what makes you human. It looks like asking questions that invite depth, not just surface. It looks like slowing down enough to let silence speak. These are simple acts, but they change everything. Because in a world where most people are rushing, presence feels like love. Jung taught that the soul longs for union, not just with another person, but with itself. When you connect with a partner, you are really connecting with the parts of yourself that were waiting to be mirrored. The fastest way to connect, then, is to stop hiding from yourself. Because once you are at home within your own being, you can finally make another person feel at home with you. There is no shortcut more powerful than truth. There is no technique more effective than authenticity. And there is no strategy more lasting than presence. This is the paradox. The fastest way to connect is not to rush, but to be still enough to let the connection unfold. So when you stand before a new partner, remember this. You do not need to perform, you do not need to force closeness. You only need to be real. The unconscious will recognize it. Their heart will recognize it. And in that moment, connection will not be something you create. It will be something you remember.